All right, Jack Powers here, and welcome to the live chat. I'd like to get this live in other venues, so we're working on that. Do it all at once, right? Just have it kind of, boom, go out over a number of venues, but there'll be some people showing up. No doubt about it. There is Billy. Hi, Billy. How you doing, brother? Everything good over across the pond? Man, you're a long way away, my friend. I think there's been people that, yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm okay. I think there's been people that actually swam across the Atlantic. I'm not sure. I think there was a woman that did it or something. I got my little girl with me, Billy. Sunny, huh? I got my little girl right here. Look, say hi to Billy. Hi, Billy. She loves to be on my lap, no matter what. I can't even sit down. And she'll just come up, and all of a sudden she'll just be on my lap, like she did just now. She knows when it's time to go live, right? Yeah, she is. She is. This is my little service dog. Therapy, service, emotional support, everything.
Recordings just got better.
She's really cool.
It's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about
Have you ever done a recording where your guest just had terrible internet issues?
some of the stuff that we're doing, and
You could almost
yeah, let me begin with that because we got a couple things going on this next week. I'm going to be filming another short film. This one's called, or tentatively entitled, yeah, I got to get back with Chad, Billy, and maybe we complete that, but I'm telling the whole story, my own story on Chronicles of Captivity, which is the membership platform. You know, it's hard to put in like every single detail because a lot of times I'll remember stuff after the fact and I'll say, oh man, why didn't I talk about that or mention that? But, you know, there's a lot to this story. Remember, there's almost 33 years of going from cage to cage to cage to cage. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff all the way in between there. So, yeah, it's going to be a long series. I think it's up to 35 right now. Yeah, it was hard at the time. I mean, at the time, it seemed like it was pretty much just over. Seemed like it was just that there was, you know, my philosophy was that once life loses its basic qualities, where you can no longer enjoy yourself at all, and you're just existing, you're not really living, then, you know, for me, it was like, okay, it's time to pull the plug to get this over with. The only thing was that, you know, it's not easy to bring yourself to that point. It's a point of desperation, and I was there several times. I was clinically dead at least twice. I was clinically dead. And, somehow came back from the dead, really. That's no bullshit. Came back from the dead. Well, the object is, the real object is not to get caught up to begin with, because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't, I didn't find living in a cage to be all that much fun. I mean, years ago, in the U.S., the federal penitentiaries years ago, you could do your time. I mean, you could do it and do it comfortably and not really have to stress or worry, or, you had things, you had stuff going on, right? None of this extreme mindless violence like what's plaguing the system now. I mean, you had some here and there, but it wasn't nearly as pronounced. You could relax and do your time. Now it's a different story. So everything's changed, and now they're trying to swing it back the other way to where, yeah, I would agree with that. Hey, John Wolf. John Wolf from New Orleans. The John Wolf Show. It's it's fun. And it's fun, John. Your show is fun. And it's funny too. I know you put that kind of a tilt on it, but I think you got a pretty good show there. We got Billy from England here too. Yeah. You had a bunch of shit going on. You were hitting it right and left. But yeah, it's all good. I was just explaining how the penitentiary system has changed. The federal penitentiary system in the United States has changed for the worse over the past 20, 25 years even. The old penitentiaries are gone now. They're not gone. They just changed them into FCIs, which is like medium security facilities, federal correctional institutes. And they built all these new penitentiaries. Oh, John, the food, it changed dramatically. I mean, when I went in, I was in Leavenworth in September of 1990, and you walk in that chow hall and it was like, oh my God, really? Because the food service people, the steward in particular, believed that if you fed prisoners really, really well, you kept all the violence and the dissatisfaction and everything down. So he fed really well. That salad bar was just, I mean, you could eat whatever you wanted to. I mean, really, every meal, basically. And then if you knew somebody that worked there, or if you worked there yourself, you were set. So, I mean, it was really good food. They'd put out boxes of fruit. They'd have big, huge, giant bowls of salads, and then all the separate. It was a salad bar, and then they'd put out like stuff that they had maybe the day before, meats and things. They'd put that out. It was just, they'd put like everything out. You had soft ice cream even for dessert. There was this setup right in the middle of the chow hall, and the fella just made soft ice cream and put cones up on the countertop, and you could just go get what you wanted, and soda machines. Yeah, it was, I mean, I guess there was some merit to the feed them well, and keep the dissatisfaction and the violence, because, after you eat a good meal, you're not really, all you're looking to do really is lay down and take it easy for a while, right? And that was a guy by the name of Boss Hogg. Jimmy remembers him. Good, what better than I do. He left right after I got there. But it started going downhill. And little by little, the Bureau of Prisons just trimmed it down to where it's like nothing now. I mean, there are no salad bars that I know of. There are no salad bars anymore. And you go through the line, you go through once. If you try to go through a second time, they've got police like guarding that line and memorizing. Some places you got to show your ID to, get back in line or to get your tray. So, yeah, they've got it. And the food is just garbage, really. Now it's just garbage. There's the wood. How's it going, Wood? Yeah. One day at a time, my friend. One day at a time. We had this guy last night, like, I don't know, 12 a.m. I went to little Emma here outside to do her thing. So I stepped outside and I basically bumped into this guy. I mean, I came within like 3 feet of him. Arm and Hammer. No, I didn't. Not that, I might know him by sight or whatever. And then to answer your question, Billy, yeah, we cooked. You had to. You had to basically live off commissary. And of course, there you're just with the ramen noodles and so forth and so on. I mean, you can get tuna fish, you can get peanut butter, so you can get your protein. Peanut butter and wheat bread is a complete protein. Rice and beans is a complete protein. Salute to you, my friend. I salute all of you guys, because you know what? We're not in the cage anymore. We're not in the cage. And we're not going back to the cage if we can help it, right? So just be on your P's and Q's. Just do what you got to do to stay out. I mean, it really isn't worth it at all. So last night I was talking about, I stepped outside like midnight to let little Emma, go to the bathroom out there. And I almost bumped into this dude. And guy's dressed like in long black, kind of a big, dirty looking guy with a lot of facial hair and kind of balding. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he kind of hem-hawed around a little bit. He was looking at the back of the place and probably checking out the bicycle and maybe the generator or whatever. And he's like, I'm on a treasure hunt. So I said, man, there's no treasure here, brother. You better just keep moving. I pointed. And he said, oh, okay. And then he just hung around the whole neighborhood with this like high-powered flashlight. He was looking in cars. He was, I guess looking in trash cans, looking all over. Maybe he was on a treasure hunt, but I think he was wound up on something. And there's like 50 million cameras all over the place. We have access to cameras too. So I don't know what he was trying to do. Probably just trying to steal something else. I think, now he's got me thinking that he might be the one that stole my bike. He could have been, Billy. He could have been, for real. He could have been. I mean, we know that they do that. We know that they do that. They have, here's what they do. This is interesting. Guys that come out of prison after a long term, particularly bank robbers, for some reason, most of the bank robbers who do a long time in the feds, for some reason, the first thing they do is they go out and they rob another fucking bank. I've known so many guys, they didn't even get out of the halfway house. 2-3 weeks they're out robbing banks while they're still in the halfway house. So the feds will put a team on you. They've got these specialty undercover teams, and they'll put them on you to surveil you for a time. And, you know, they'll come back, they'll do their surveillance. For sure they'll do surveillance. Absolutely. Because that's what they do. They're looking for you to fit that pattern, to fit that profile. But with me, I don't think they didn't have any personal experience, like, you know, in terms of self-transformation or personal growth and development. They don't really know what that is, and they don't really trust it. They think everybody's just playing some kind of a con game. But with me, it's absolutely genuine. I mean, I did the time. I put the time in. I put the work in. I put the practice in. I did all the hard work, looking at myself, coming to these conclusions about myself, knowing that I needed to change certain things about me. Yeah, they don't care at all. They don't care. Their only thing is, you know, to put you back in any way that they can, if they can. That's just the mindset that they're in. And I don't think that's everybody, though, because I ran into a couple of good, solid people who just, you know, they wanted to help people make it. They wanted to help me make it. I've run into a few. There's not many, but there are a few that are solid in that regard. Now, I'm not talking about agents. I'm talking about probation officers. You know, the judge has been just, you know, good to me. And, I mean, you know, they haven't really sweated me all that much, to tell the truth. They haven't really sweated me that much. And there's nothing I'm doing anyway. Yeah, unfortunately, the prison industrial complex, it's a big machine, and it has a lot of power politically. But this is why I say, you know, it's up to the individual. I mean, we can say, okay, it was this witness, or it was this judge, or it was these agents that got on the stand and lied, and they gave me too much time. I mean, I could go through all that stuff, right? And I have. But I came to the conclusion at some point that I myself, Jack Powers, needed to be responsible for me. Well, you cipher the good from the bad. I mean, are you talking about people, or are you talking about characteristics of the human personality? I mean, we're to know a tree by the fruit it bears, right? You know what a person's thinking usually by the way they act. They might be able to act a certain way for a certain time, but, you know, because you get these people who, let's just say somebody acts like they're your friend, and then the next thing you know, they stab you in the back, which literally and figuratively, I've known people, I've had it happen, and I've known people that it's happened to. So, well, the characteristics of the human personality, the qualities or skills that a person develops within their own inner self, their own processing of the events, the people, the circumstances, the world, the ideas around them. That, I think, the good ones are the characteristics that have been noted throughout human history as being some of the better ones. You're listening, ain't you, John? You're listening. You're listening. But, things like, and it's just the opposite of these lower instincts, right? We all start out with these low, like animalistic instincts: deception, greed, territoriality. We want to, we're selfish. We want to maintain what's ours, right? The violence, the theft, you see all animals in the wild use these same, or have these same behaviors, right? And it's a matter of survival. So biologically, we're no different than they are. We're a little bit down the road perhaps, but our basic instincts are still the same. There's nothing wrong with that, except that we have to live in a civil society where there's a bunch of humans living around each other. In order to do that, you have to have certain standards. You have to have certain rules. And the way that humans are able to live together and get along together and have some peace amongst themselves and peace of mind within their own selves is to develop these characteristics or attributes. Okay. God bless you, Billy. I'll see you back soon. Thank you so much. So yeah, that's the way I look at it, Arm & Hammer, is, but these good attributes, these higher order values or characteristics or whatever you want to call them, we have to train for those. They don't come easily. They don't. God bless you, Billy. God bless you and your family and your friends and everybody else. Keep doing what you're doing, man. So, yeah, I mean, you got to train for it. And I train every single day. I do the manual program every day. What's in this package right here is I'm trying to find one of the new copies of the manual program here. I know I got 2 of them in this envelope that are going to a doctor who works with other doctors who work with Department of Corrections. And I'm trying to get them to introduce this into the correctional system, because what I keep saying is, if people really want to do something, forget about trying to change this monolithic, antiquated, institutionalized, politicized criminal justice system. I mean, you can keep working on it, of course. But if you really want to do something for somebody you love, one of your friends, one of your brothers, sisters, one of your children, if you really want to do something good for somebody that you love, try to influence them to stay out. And if they're already in, give them something like the manual program. Give them something that they can use while they're in there to take care of these, these I want to call them defects, but they're not really defects. It's just underdeveloped characteristics, because anybody can develop positive characteristics. And look, it ain't that hard to stay out of jail, really. 3 things. I call them the 3 knots, right? Don't take anything that doesn't belong to you. Don't hurt anyone, intentionally or otherwise. And don't deal drugs. Don't mess around with drugs. You're probably not going to end up in jail or prison if you just don't do those 3 things. Right? So it's not really hard to stay out of prison, but to improve to the point where you feel like you're actually doing something for yourself. You're making your own life better from the inside out, because it all depends on our perspective. It all depends on the way, how we're processing our thought. If we're processing it according to a certain set of lower values, then yeah, we're going to have trouble. We're going to have turmoil. Nothing's going to come out right. Not in society. It might come out right if we're living in a jungle or something, but it doesn't come out right in terms of human civilization. It'll come out much better if we develop these higher characteristics, qualities, and skills of the human mind. And, you know, there's ways to do that. The best way is just to simply meditate. It's just to simply sit down, relax your body, don't move, use your breath, use the belly to breathe with, called diaphragmatic breathing. Just let your belly go way out. When you inhale, just relax, let it go way out. And when you exhale, pull it in and tighten it and push all that air back out. At the same time, keep your mind's eye on the breath itself as it goes in and out. Don't, you know, if you start thinking other thoughts, just catch yourself and go back to the breath. Go back to watching the breath. Just keep your attention on the breath itself. Because when you can suspend the fabrication of thought, that's when consciousness expands. Yeah, I agree. Well, it's just, yeah, it's, John, it's part of human nature, right? It's just part of human nature. It's part of it's part of being human is, you know, I look at the next guy and I see that he's, you know, in my view, he's doing better than I am. And so what happens? I get this little bit of jealousy or this little bit of envy going, right? One of the 7 deadly, so to speak, sins: envy, greed, whatever. I mean, you know, we never really stop to look at what we already have as a source of satisfaction. You know, if we could just practice a little bit of gratitude every now and then, just look at things, just, hey, I've got a pen. You know what? I'm happy to have this pen. I'm happy to have this iPad that I'm doing this live show right now. It's sitting on top of a rechargeable Jackery battery. I'm real happy to have that. You know, if you look around, you're going to see a lot of things that you can be grateful for. Free will, it's all a matter of choice, Armin here. Once we become aware of our ability, our capability to make choices about how we feel, instead of just letting circumstances or situations dictate the way we feel through habit and reaction. Once we learn that we ourselves can control that by making decisions about the way we think and the way we feel, and, you know, that's really the first step to getting free from those emotions and thoughts that lead to bad behavior or poor behavior or unwanted behavior. And that just means, you know, it just means the stuff that's unhealthy, the stuff that leads to problems, the stuff that causes stress and turmoil and cares and concerns and harms other people and doesn't really get us where we want to be in the end. So, you know, if we're smart, then we're going to tap into the techniques, the practices that are going to help us to build that kind of awareness, the awareness of our own hearts and minds and how they operate and what we can do to get them to operate better so that our perspective changes. We look at things differently, meaning that everything gets processed according to a different set of values, a different set of goals, a different set of I guess items that would constitute understanding collectively. So that's where I'm at, and I really want to try to put things in simple terms so that people, because it's hard, it's like a catch-22. We've got this sometimes it's a thick wall of ignorance around our psyches, our center, our core, our souls. There's this thick wall, like a prison wall, and we're trying to break through that. We're trying to get to the other side of that, because that's where freedom of the mind exists. But how do you keep motivated? I mean, in the moment you can get motivated, right? Somebody tells you, hey, there's freedom on the other side of this wall. You're in a deep, dark dungeon, right? All you've known for a long time is this wall. And maybe you buy into it. Maybe you say, yeah, okay, give me some tools and I'll start trying to make a hole through this. I'll go to work on it. And after a while, maybe you get a foot deep or something. After a while, you just say, I'm going to give up on this, man. There's nothing. It ain't nothing, man. It's bullshit. And you just stop, right? But that's where this whole concept of confidence or shraddha or faith comes in, because you have to know that there is a whole different world beyond that wall, beyond the wall of the mind, that wall of ignorance. There's a whole different world, whole different perspective that's way better than the old one, right? The prison. So it's all metaphorical, it's all symbolic, but yeah, you keep working, and in time you're gonna knock that little piece out, and this ray of sunlight, this ray of brilliant light is gonna come through, and you're gonna be like, wow, yeah, there is something over here. There is something great. And then, you really get motivated to keep working then, because your freedom's right there. You can taste it. You can see it, smell it. But that's just, that's my own philosophy. I don't, obviously I don't try to force on anybody, but I'd like to see, you see so much in the news about these youngsters, and they're getting younger and younger, and they're doing all this whacked out stuff. This kid, I guess Aiden was his name, he stabbed this 13-year-old girl, like over 100 times, and for what? This guy that killed his wife and stabbed her over 100 times. I think it was down in Florida. He stabbed his wife and then took his 2-year-old son and killed his son and tried to feed him to the alligators. And they found the kid in the alligator's mouth. And I mean, you got the kid that shot the teacher. You've got all kinds of, it seems like there's just something that isn't being done that could be done. And I think it all revolves around very early training in people skills, how to develop these positive or better characteristics as a human being, how to, socialize, how to navigate problems or challenges or concerns without resorting to violence. I mean, and on the other side of that, I say this: these prisons and jails are filled with people that really don't need to be there, my view. If you didn't intentionally and significantly injure another human being, then I don't think prison serves much of a purpose then, other than to basically make you worse, reinforce that criminal mindset, and set you on, a further path of destruction, self-destruction. So, but on the other hand, if you've got really violent dudes, and there are, what do? I mean, I don't think we should give up on them. I think we should try to motivate them, try to influence them the best we can, but it all comes down to these personal decisions. If you're just going to be a hardhead like I was for so many years, if you're just going to be a hardhead and refuse, to, I mean, it's not really a matter of refusing to me. When I look back at myself, it's just that lack of understanding. You don't know what you don't know, right? So how can you operate off that information, the better information, if you think you already have all the information you need? We all tend to lie to ourselves in our youth. And, even as we get into our 20s, 30s, sometimes even into the 40s, we tend to lie to ourselves and think that we already know. So that's where this, attribute of humility comes in. We have to stay humble, and that just means open to learning. Are you open to learning more about yourself? Yeah. Unfortunately. And I'll even take it further than that. I'll even take it beyond that. I'll say that mothers who are abused while they're carrying the child, because they're all connected to the same central nervous system, I would say that there's an effect from that as well. But definitely childhood abuse it's usually perpetrated by people that themselves were abused as children. And so it's this cycle, this endless cycle of abuse. And if it's not people that have been subject to abuse themselves, then it's people who have just given over their thoughts and their behavior to this animalistic lust, this powerful lust that it doesn't operate within the realms of civilized society or within the realms of the law. And it is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. And you have to look at whether or not there's a valid solution there. I mean, if you've got someone that is pre-programmed in the depths of their own psyche, then it's going to be really hard, really difficult to bring them away from those types of impulses and behaviors. It's not impossible, and I think everybody should have the opportunity for personal redemption. But again, there's some crimes that are just they're so extreme, they're so horrific, they're so anti-civilization that you have to do something. You can't just let people run around doing that thing. You have to do something. You have to have some kind of a system that can stop the behavior or slow it down significantly. And then I think you have to come in with some kind of follow-up training. I believe in program plans for every prisoner. And I think one of the things that Trump did, and Jared Kushner, son-in-law, they championed the First Step Act of 2018, which was, I think, a great move. It was a great move in the right direction. The Bureau of Prisons, Federal Bureau of Prisons, couldn't follow up with it They haven't yet. They're trying to. They got a new director in there. But, you know, it's really hard to overcome that status quo, that mindset that the established administration or, you know, the rank and file guards and their unions and everyone else has. Because you're right. Somebody said at the beginning, it comes down to a matter of dollar and cents. I mean, it's job security, right? So they really don't want people getting out because they really do fear that they could lose their jobs. If they had a magic pill, I've often said this, if prison administrators and custody officials had access to magic pills that would just automatically cure everyone from criminal thinking, all the prisoners, they would never use it. That would be buried, absolutely buried quickly too, because, you know, that's been my experience with most of them, how they think about it, how they think about their jobs and their positions and everything else. They're not looking at the bigger picture. And, you know, again, John Wolfe said, you know, we as humans, we usually tune into the, hey, diggity dank, how you doing? Cheers, my friend. As humans, we usually turn it into the smaller picture, right? We tune into what is, you know, of interest to us within our immediate view, within our immediate surroundings, and what has the most immediate and beneficial effect, or what we think does. So I think prison guards and administrators are the same way. I think they're just human. Do they need development? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. They need a standard course of personal growth and development as well, with certifications. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think everybody would do way better, but you can't force people to do it. I mean, I guess the Bureau of Prisons could make it mandatory through policy or training, but, oh yeah, yep, I'm very familiar with Stanton. Yep, his thought faults philosophy was one of the ones that I zeroed in on. You know, when, yeah, I've listened to him a lot. He's got to be old now, but I listened and studied a lot of his material when I was at the ADX, when I was at the Supermax. At one point, I had access to all of that stuff. You know, I had access to, you know, I'd get the chaplain's office to play videos on their channel, get the psychology department to play certain videos on their channel, or they would anyway. And then I could get the books, I could get reference books and stuff, but I think they stopped that. They were, you know, they were busy putting the brakes on all of that just before I left there. They were, and again, didn't make any sense to anybody that was saying, hey, somebody wants to better themselves, why not allow them to do it? Why are you taking away these materials, these tools that they might need in order to do that? So, you know, that also got me thinking about, well, what can't they take away? What is it that they can't take away? Hi, Tom. Yeah, those time differences are tough. I'm trying to find the same time every week that works for like the most people, or where the most can get in at least for a little bit. You know, there's got to be some kind of an overlap somewhere. But I want to do it the same day at the same time so that, and establish a little bit of a routine instead of jumping all over the place. But, all I can say really is what I've learned, what I've come to understand for myself. And I throw it out there. I just offer it. I say, okay, here's what I went through, and this is what it produced. This is, this was the cauldron, the forge that I was heated up in and melted in and reformed in. But I reformed myself because I really wanted to. Didn't like the way I was. I didn't like the results of my behavior. I didn't like what I had done to my family and friends. I didn't like hanging out in a fucking cage. I didn't like hanging out with people that weren't really of the same mindset, or I never considered crime to be like cool. I never considered trying to be cool, and I felt deeply into it, but I certainly kicked myself in the ass many times for allowing myself to be that stupid, that ignorant. And again, I don't continue to kick myself because you don't know what you don't know. So, and it took a long time for me to even begin to gather up a new perspective on life or on myself. And it's the same for everybody. I mean, some people get it right away. Some people, it takes a little bit of time. I'm one of those hard heads that it took some time, and I'm not there yet. This is a perpetual process every day for the rest of my breathing life here on the face of Earth. I'll continue to apply myself every single day. I'm going to work on becoming a better human being because I like it. I like the way I feel about myself. I like the way things turn out now. It's a way better existence, a way better life than what it was before. And if I can help people, if I can give people some kind of an incentive, some kind of influence, or maybe they, pick up some little bit of knowledge or insight or understanding from something I say. Maybe it's a little bit of a seed that's planted, and later on it gets watered and grows up a little bit, and it helps. Cool, nice. That's what we're supposed to be doing for each other. We're supposed to be helping each other. We're supposed to be having, support or fellowship, if you will. We're supposed to be helping each other the way that we can. Yeah, I mean, you guys all got a story to tell. I mean, these are not insignificant stories. These examples, these stories, they're not just stories, they're examples. Did I ever cover up the tattoos? I tried to, like, I haven't covered up any tattoos. I've tried to, I had a couple of sessions where I tried to get rid of these a little bit on my face. I'm still up in the air about it, mostly because, it's not something that I can get for free. The rest of the tattoos and stuff are all still here. I tried to fill in with some red here. My back is filled in a little bit. you know, I have a big question mark. It's an upside down question mark, and then there's a right side up question mark in the middle of my back. But that's what life is to me. That's my philosophy of life, is that question mark is always there, right? We always have questions. What does it mean? Where am I going? Oh, yeah, I mean, my tattoos came within a couple of weeks. It was after my little buddy killed himself at ADX, and I had this really vivid dream. I'd been practicing yoga for some years then. I had this really vivid dream, and this old yogi with a long white beard and kind of a bald head and long hair in the back and around. He was just wearing a little loincloth, but he appeared in this dream, and he was showing me where he had sketched out on this rock with charcoal this, I guess it was Sanskrit. And he was explaining to me how, it's going to sound really strange, but he was trying to explain to me how when we move through time and space, we leave an impression. We leave a story, if you will. We leave these marks that are like a language. And so when I woke up, I remembered the marks, and I wrote them I put them down. I just sketched them out on a piece of paper, and it looked like, "Hey, Peterstown, glad you caught me, man. Yeah, cool. Good to have you on board." Yeah, I'm just explaining about the tattoos that I put on myself. So when I had it on the paper, after I woke up from that dream, I just scribbled them and, kind of sketched them on the paper. And it looked like a pattern. And I had the thought that I should put those on my body, those same marks. And so that's what I started doing. I started at my feet, and I just came all the way up, and I even got my back. The way I got my back was I made a pole, out of rolled up paper, and then you use the glue, the gummy, stick them part off the envelope to hold it in place. And I'd take a little piece of a razor blade and I'd put it in a little popsicle stick and tie it to that pole. And then I could bend the pole, and then I could look at it in the mirror, and I could, cut the lines, and then I would, I'd wrench my arm back to rub the ink in and stuff like that. So got my back a little bit. But yeah, that all came within like 10 days to 2 weeks. And it just so happened that I had finished all the way up to here. I had finished. And the people from central office, they come out there every 90 days. So they came out there to do their review, their executive panel review in the control unit. And so I went out there for my review, and they all thought that I had put it on with an ink pen, that I had drawn everything on with an ink pen. And I guess they thought I was playing some kind of game where maybe when I went back, I would just wash it all off, or maybe after they retook their mugshots or file photo pictures, I would just wash it off and be laughing at them. But I'm telling them, I say, no, this is, and the guys are telling me, the guy from central office telling me, when you go back, just wash that off, Powers, just, and the warden, just wash that off. When you get back to your cell, wash that off. And then they're telling the guys, make sure he washes that off when he goes back. I'm like, this ain't gonna wash off. This is a tattoo. This is ink. This is permanent. This is real. But they still didn't believe me for like 4 or 5 months. They never took another picture for like 4 or 5 months to update the file. So, and they kept believing that I was just putting it on with a pen. But it all has meaning to me that I can't readily explain, except to say that my thought about it at the time was that whenever I move, whenever my body moves through time and space, it's actually Sanskrit. It's the ancient language of Sanskrit, and depending on how a person would look at me, what angle, these lines, these tattoos will line up from my arm to my chest across to the other arm, and they tend to, or at least this is the way that I was thinking at the time, they tend to spell out words in Sanskrit. So in any case, that's where I'm at with that. I can't, I can't and really don't want to get rid of all of them. Maybe I'd like to get rid of these face tattoos a little bit, but it's kind of my trademark now. It's kind of how people know me. So, I'm on the fence about it a little bit for a couple different reasons, but I hope that answers your question about the tattoos. I only had one little tattoo on my chest of an eagle when I went in, and kind of covered up the rest of my body with the Sanskrit designs and with animals. I've got a red-tailed hawk on my left calf. I've got a snapping turtle or a big turtle on my right calf. I've got a snake coiled on my right thigh. I've got a bear or a wolf head, sort of, the symbol anyway, on my abdomen. I've got the eagle on my chest, and it'd be nice, Tom, maybe to touch them up, have a professional touch them up, but I guess it kind of takes away somehow from, because every single one of them I did myself. I did them all myself. So, except for the eagle. The eagle was put on when I was in my early 20s. And so, every other one I put on myself. And, if I wanted to darken them up or something like that, or fill in, which, there's places definitely that need to be filled in or touched up some, because this was just ashes, straight up ashes. But yeah, that's the story of the tattoos, pretty much. But this guy I ran into last night about midnight, he had some tattoos, and I think he'd probably done some time before. I mean, you just, sometimes you see these folks, these men, and I guess women too, but this guy was obviously homeless. He was probably one of the people that are living down in that little area by the highway, this little triangular area where the trees and everything. I did a little video about it. He's probably one of the people that were living down there. He might be the guy that stole my bicycle. I don't know. I don't have any proof of that, so I don't really want to say that. But yeah, I mean, people just, people are just people. Humans are just humans. I don't think there's easy solutions or answers to all these societal problems. It just seems like the same old to me. But if the individual could be encouraged to take some kind of personal responsibility, then I think that'll make a difference, because if that person has enough awareness of their own ability to choose the thought they want to have or the feeling that they want to have or don't want to have. That gives a person a tremendous amount of power. And if they have some kind of a role model, a decent role model in front of them, and they respect and they look up to and they want to be like that, then, you've got probably 75% of it won right there. Now you just need a little bit of the practice, right? Just sit quietly every once in a while and just let your mind be still. Because in that stillness of the mind, your understanding is going to grow. You're going to become more aware on a much larger scale than just your immediate surroundings. So I've said a lot, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off now because my time is up. And I'll say so long to all you guys. Wow. Yeah, that must have been something. That must have been something, Petertown. Because, yeah. Was it color? Was it... There he is. Hey, Toad Medicine. Where you been, brother? Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you, man. Yeah, if you guys, want to... I'm going to sign off, but, of course, this will be up. This will be up probably in an hour or so. It takes a little time to load it. Not me, but YouTube to load it up. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. Yeah, full color. Great. That must have been like, your eyes must have been popping. Like, wow. Yeah. It reminds me, because my uncle Al had a tattoo like an anchor on his forearm. And thank you, Peterstown. But he lost his hand on that arm where the anchor was tattooed. He lost his hand, a corn picker on the farm. It just took his whole hand off. And so he had a stump there. And when I was a little kid, he would call me over and he had this stump like inside his sleeve, right? And he said, "You want to see the tattoo on my arm?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, go ahead and look at my sleeve." And he'd go like this, right? So I went to look at his sleeve and he went bonk and hit me, hit me with the stub. He was a card. But I'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Peace. Peace, Toad Medicine. You guys take care.